Yeah, and we're back. So, yo, we got talking about some crazy shit, and I have to pull up like some Googleage on this right now because
All right, I'll tell them what we were talking
go
about.
ahead while I look it up.
We were talking about the Sphinx in Egypt. That they're saying that the Sphinx is anywhere from 10,000 to 12,000 years older than the actual pyramids. It's not facts, but people that study the erosion on the base of it are saying that it came from raindrops,
Okay.
from rain.
All right, here we go. In 1987, a Japanese team from Waseda University, under the direction of a guy whose name I can't pronounce, carried out electromagnetic sounding survey of the Kaifu Pyramid and the Sphinx and found several cavities and
Yes.
tunnels. Rare images of the Great Sphinx suggest that there's there are several intricate entrances. All right, let me go further into this.
And they also drilled holes, and they found stuff that was
Oh,
caverns.
well, here's your thing. Hall of Records.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Hall records.
The Hall of Records is an ancient library claimed by Edgar Kyle Case. Excuse me, Edward Casey.
Edward Casey. He's an American psychic.
Yeah, to lie under the Great Sphinx, and later wrote as a secret in a book called Secret Chamber in 1999.
Yes.
So I mean, like just the fact that no one is able to go down there. Okay, you know what? This is what I'm gonna ask. Why? Why was the room under the Sphinx not unearthed?
I believe it's because the Egyptian government wouldn't allow anybody from any other country. Because at that time, all the archaeologists were coming from other countries, especially from the West. They didn't want anybody digging under there and getting access to anything. So what happened was the Egyptian government and the military. There was a guy talking about it. He had a crew there. They were drilling holes. But at that time, they weren't using the sonogram or whatever. So they had a different method. So they were drilling holes, and they weren't sure if they found maybe a cave, maybe a tunnel, maybe a room. It could just be an air pocket, maybe just like, you know what I'm saying, like a little cavity. They call it a cavity or something like that, a cavern. They weren't sure what they found, but once they found something and they reported it, the Egyptian government came in, the military, whatever, military police or whatever, whoever they are, they came in and they stopped everything. After they stopped it, they said, right, the archaeologist and his team, they noticed at nighttime there was a different crew of people from Egypt were working over there, but they don't know what they were doing because they didn't have access to it.
Well, look at this.
So they predict, they assume that they might have found something there and they're just not telling nobody. Maybe they didn't.
Well, let's see. This is what I've been able to find on this question. There is no evidence to indicate that the Hall of Records ever existed.
Yes.
In 1998, a guy whose name I can't pronounce, chief director of the Supreme Council of Antiques, undertook excavations beneath the main body of the Sphinx at Giza and rediscovered access tunnels to several large, apparently natural caves directly under the Sphinx. No artifacts were found, and a survey was undertaken to assess any potential threats in the substrate that might affect the ancient monument above.
Yes.
Foundation. There was evidence of earlier ancient excavations. Hawass commented in a documentary about the 1998 excavations that he suspected that there could be other cavities beneath the structure based on the evidence of the small water course that had caused some minor structural damage to the stonework on the flank of the Sphinx.
Oh, also, I'm sorry. I know what happened, Boris. I apologize, Boris. After they were doing the sonogram thing, after they shut them down, the Egyptian military or the government, they were drilling holes. And when they asked why they were drilling holes, they lied and said, "Oh, we're trying to get the water out of the ground because it was fucking the Sphinx up." But the archaeologists believe they were drilling the holes
to see if they can get further.
No, to see where these things, where these rooms were.
Well, it's a little, that's kind of shitty to find that out. Because here I thought this whole time that the room was never entered, and now I find out that somebody's been there. But, just the fact that there were other evidence of ancient excavations, right? That means to say that there might have been some artifacts down there, and that shit was already taken out.
Know what the problem? Maybe. Know what the big problem is though? Is that if they were to actually go on record, scientific facts that the Sphinx was built 12,000 years before the pyramids, they would have to rewrite all the history books in the world. Because now, that's not when man started. 12,000 years that's before Christ, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's a long time, man. It's a long time. So I think what you just said, I agree with you. I think they found something there. Maybe they went in there and everything was preserved, and they just said, you know what, let's leave it the way it is. I think what you just said, I agree.
My fault. Keep going.
Maybe they found stuff down there. Maybe they're studying it little by little. Who knows? Maybe they want to keep it preserved. I mean, listen, if I was the government, and we had something like that in our country, and China was coming over saying, or England saying, we want to go excavate that and take the stuff to our country. No, you're not doing that. No, not at all. There's also there's certain things that like I want to say what did they find? They found certain stuff. They found certain tools too.
Where exactly?
Like on the site. Because it's a big site, the pyramids. They had to dig up the Sphinx. Sphinx was on the ground. The sand preserved everything.
Yes.
But they have found like tools and stuff. And then some people said that these tools are older than we think. But they can't. They carbon date them, I guess, or they try to figure it out. But what it is one guy says they're 10,000 years old. The other guy says no, it's impossible because the books say it is. So they're going by what the books say.
Yeah, but carbon dating is proving a lot of that wrong.
I go with the scientific facts.
On that, you'd have to.
Now, this is the argument we had last time, is that you have religious people saying the writings say the pyramids have been built. But there's one problem, though. When the pyramids were being built, there was writings about it. We know who did it. We know how long it took, we're assuming. We have ideas on how they did it. Right. They had certain... we found the plumb bob. We found certain tools. We learned how they did certain
The battery, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. That little copper thing in the lantern or whatever.
That's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Now, my thing is with the Sphinx, which was, if that was built at the same time, how come nobody wrote about it? No one talked about it.
Well, maybe
no one claimed it. No one took responsibility of doing this. They didn't keep records back then. It sounds like it was built before the pyramids. Maybe not 12,000 years. Listen, they could have had a heavy rainfall 1,000 years before. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. And it makes sense. Listen, you know what the Sphinx is supposed to represent? They
What's
say
that?
The Leo constellation and the stars. It's shaped like a lion.
Right.
They believe that it originally was a lion, and then when they built the pyramids, they put that what's that guy's name? The guy, the leader. What do they call him again? The pharaohs or whatever, or... the guy who's in charge, they always put him in the tombs and shit.
Well, here we go.
They believe they carved his face out of the lion's face. They did it over.
Oh, well, here's the most common believed one.
Yeah, check it out.
So the most common and widely accepted theory about the Great Sphinx suggests that the statue was erected for Pharaoh Khafre.
Yes.
About 2603 to 2578 BC. Hieroglyphic texts suggest that Khafre's father, Pharaoh Khufu, built the Great Pyramids, the oldest and largest.
Yeah.
The three pyramids of Giza.
What did it take? 20 years to build the pyramids or something like that? The Great Pyramid?
Let's see.
I think it's 20 years.
Long.
But now they're trying to say that the Sphinx was already there, and what they did was it used to be a lion's face, and they just changed the face to the pharaoh, and that was it, done deal. And that's when they kept records of it.
True.
But the erosion says differently. Funny, if an archaeologist, whoever these guys are, they go and they see the erosion on the side of a coastline, and they say, okay, this is 40,000 years old, people believe them.
Damn.
What?
Apparently, it took approximately 20 years
to
build the pyramids.
Now, how many blocks are there?
Well, let's see.
This is funny.
Egyptian gods, 20 years. 20 years for a force of 100,000 oppressed slaves to build the pyramids. with another 10 years to build a stone causeway that connected it to the temple in the valley below. Stones were lifted into position by the use of immense machines. Ooh.
No one knows how they built them to
All
this
right,
day.
all right. How many blocks are in the Great Pyramids?
I want to finish 20 years, right? So
Oh, shit.
Don't say-
2.3 million
hold on
blocks.
a second. I want to try something here. This is going to be interesting. You're going to like this little study right here.
2.3 million
Hold on.
blocks.
20 years, right? Hold on. 20
Which near
times 365, right? Equals 7,300, right? All right. Now, how many blocks are there? 7,300.
2.3 million. That's some crazy shit, right?
That means they had to set 315 blocks per day.
That's a lot.
Now, hold on a second.
That's a lot.
Now, watch. 315 divided by 24 hours. It's 13 blocks an hour.
When you have 100,000 people.
Hold on. Then divide that by what? 60 minutes? Right? Wait. I don't know if that was correct, but it makes sense though. A couple hundred blocks a day? I don't think so. Something's up. I think history's wrong. Either it took longer than they said,
Or they had better technology than we know.
or this. Maybe something was already there and they just built around it.
What do you think was there?
I don't know. Maybe there was smaller pyramids there and they just built around it. Built up. You could do that too. Know what's amazing with them too? Is they're perfectly aligned with those 3 stars.
Yeah.
They're perfectly
the
aligned, like,
constellations, yeah.
but they're also perfectly like square and shit like that. Like they really fucking.
They knew their math.
They used mathematics to do it. You had to. There was no way. They have headers in there that hold a certain amount of weight, and it's exact. You know, I mean, you can't even fit a credit card between the blocks. When you put a plumb bob on it, they're perfectly level. I mean, these things were.
It's crazy, right?
This is why I believe I told you that they didn't move the blocks up and down. This is why I believe that they made their own, like their own precast. I see in the city they build these forms and they pour cement in, and a couple of days later it hardens up. So let's say that they did a whole row like that, you know, Boris. Now you can do 300 blocks a day. You know what I'm saying, Boris? If you can pour that dirt and cement, you know. Now what do they use now? Lime or whatever to build them?
Hold on.
Granite, limestone.
Let's see.
I can't see them. Where do they find these blocks? You know what I'm saying, Boris? Where do they find them, bro?
It was mined from a quarry.
Yeah, but how do they cut the rocks out of the ground, I'm saying?
The most accepted construction hypotheses are based on the idea that it was built by moving huge stones from a quarry and dragging and lifting them into place. There are 3 known chambers inside the Great Pyramids. The lower chamber is cut into the bedrock upon which the pyramid was built and was unfinished.
So here's a question now. Ready, Boris? Just curious, Boris. Let's say they got a giant rock, right? And they brought it over there. Now they had to carve it to be exact certain size, right? To fit in place.
Yeah.
Where is all? And same thing with the Nazca lines. It's a good question. Where the fuck is all the debris? If they got a rock the size of your house, these rocks are bigger than your house. They got a rock the size of your house, and they started carving it, and they knocking off little smaller pieces of rock.
Right.
What did they do with it? That's why my theory is that what's the number one? Let's say something right now. If I wanted to build a house out of concrete, the best place to do it would be in the desert. You know why? I have unlimited amount of resource. Sand. It's all over the place. So my thing is maybe they used the sand, and they might have got the limestone.
I don't think they had the technology.
I'm saying is that no, they don't need technology, bro. All you gotta do, like with that limestone, Boris. I'm not 100% sure, but if you break that limestone into a dust powder, you know what I'm saying, Boris, and you mix it with water and you mix it with sand, you're gonna create a type of cement. So I'm thinking, what is it made of? Granite or limestone?
I'll tell you right now. The Great Pyramids of Giza materials: limestone,
Yes.
basalt, mortar, granite.
Okay, now look, ready for that? That sounds like cement to me. in a way, right? A type of cement. So listen, ready, Boris? It makes sense that they moved the rocks from what you said. Where'd you say they got them from? From where?
A quarry nearby.
Okay, so they might have got the rocks from there. So wouldn't it make more sense to break the rocks up there, put them into fucking little fucking, maybe a little, I don't know how they transport this stuff, but break the rocks up and then bring them over there and just make forms and pour it in. It makes more sense. Boris, they are not getting that last rock to the top. You know why, Boris? I'll tell you why, Boris. When you build a ramp, Boris, to go to the top, Boris, what's the ramp going to do, Boris? The first ramp ain't high, right, Boris? When you get to the top floors, Boris, that ramp's going to be steep. You know what I'm saying, Boris? You can't carry a rock up like that, bro. Get the fuck out of here, man. It wasn't happening. 100,000 people are not carrying one of those rocks. I'm sorry. And if they're carrying one of the rocks, who's carrying another 300, bro? That would take millions of people to carry 300 rocks a day. Millions.
The stones intended for use in constructing the Great Pyramids were lifted by means of short wooden scaffold. In this way, they were raised from the earth to the first step of the staircase. There they were laid on another scaffold by means of which they were raised to the second step. So on and so forth.
Okay, now, I did construction. I seen steel beams that weighed 20, 30 tons be picked up by 2 cranes. Okay? It had to be picked up, you want to say slow?
Mm-hmm.
Take you fucking 3 or 4 hours to set that one piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best technology in the world. Very intelligent people doing it. They do it every day for a living.
They do it safely.
I
I don't think safety was really a matter back then.
Hold on. We used cranes to do that, okay? So we had something called a derrick crane. We did the Empire State Building. Oh no, the Chicago Boom. They would build the crane on each floor, by, and move shit around. These blocks, Boris, some of them weigh hundreds of tons. That's like half the size of this block.
Right.
There's no way they're lifting that thing 2 feet. How
There's
are
a
they
way.
doing? How? Think about it. Common sense wise, you have you have a giant block, right? Half the size of this block, right?
Well, they just told you how did they lift the
No,
stones
they
for
assumed.
the pyramid.
They assumed. They don't know how they built the Mayan fucking pyramids to this day. No one knows how they built them. You know, but they were smaller pyramids though. They were more doable. See what I'm saying, Boris? The only fucking pyramid they can't figure out is the Great Pyramid because the shit is too heavy, bro. They had to precast those blocks up there. It makes a lot more sense to carry up buckets of fucking dirt, granite, you know what I'm saying, and make the mixture and pour it in.
All right. Well, here's another one I got.
Oh, it's 10:30. All interesting.
Well,
all interesting.
Exactly. So the Egyptian pyramid construction techniques are the controversial subject of many hypotheses. These techniques seem to have been developed over time. Later pyramids were not constructed in the same way as the earlier ones. Most of the construction hypotheses are based on the belief that huge stones were carved from quarries with copper chisels, and those blocks were dragged and lifted into position. Disagreements chiefly concern the methods used to move and to place the stones. In addition to many unresolved arguments about the construction techniques, there have been disagreements as to the kind of workforce used. The Greeks, many years after the event, believed that the pyramids must have been built by slave labor. Archaeologists now believe that the Great Pyramids of Giza were built by tens of thousands of skilled workers who camped near the pyramids and worked for a salary or as a form of tax payment until the construction was completed, pointing to workers' cemeteries discovered in 1990 by archaeologists for the Middle Kingdom pyramid of whoever. There is evidence from the Anal stone of the king that foreigners from Canaan were used.
All right. Listen, I believe the whole...
Still doesn't answer my question.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Listen, I just think common sense wise, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's the time. We just did it right now. 20 years, 2-point-something million blocks. The only time I seen this in the construction business, I seen them pour a whole floor in like literally minutes. All right. So if they had 100,000 people, and they were able to maybe like if they can build a form on one side of the pyramid and just say there's 100 blocks there, and they can put the spaces in, right, and they can have 100 people, bringing up the stuff, and they're mixing it and just pouring it in.
Right.
You never done cement work, have you?
No.
I've done cement work, and what you do is you build forms, then you make the cement, and then you just pour it in, and you take the air bubbles out, and then you let it sit there, and it hardens up after whatever. Every cement's different, depending on what cement you're using, but usually by the end of the day it hardens up. You pull the forms off. So I seen construction job. They put up a whole skyscraper like that, Boris. Skyscrapers, they still needed cranes to get the fucking cement up there, the amount of loads. And that was difficult. I just can't see 100,000 people putting up 300 blocks a day, carrying them. I mean, plus, wherever they got these rocks from, do you really think, is there anywhere in the United States where we can get 2.3 million blocks that big and take them if we carve them out of the ground? How are you going to start carving them out of the ground?
My next question. Go ahead.
Now, just think about it.
I'll ask.
How about it's ready, Boris? You're in the middle of nowhere, right, Boris? Like a huge parking lot, right? And there's 100 feet of bedrock underneath you, right, Boris? You start carving the ground to a square, right? Once you carve that, what tools are you going to use, Boris, to go down fucking 20, 30 feet and carve a perfect line and cut it out? You know what I'm saying, no, Boris? That's some sick. We can't do it to this day. We can use lasers, maybe. You know what I'm saying, Boris? Still, how you cutting the bottom, Boris? That's my biggest question, Boris. I know you can cut the sides, right? Maybe they have some kind of diamond blade, Boris? Maybe they have some kind of something can melt it, Boris? But my thing is, Boris, how the fuck do you cut the bottom? Now, Boris, if you look on how they build homes in Iraq and Syria, you ever see those little stone homes they build out of the sand, Boris? You see those little houses they build they make those little blocks, the little cinder blocks. They build the houses out of them. What are they using, bro? They're using the stuff in their surroundings, and they build these little homes, and they're pretty nice, Boris. They build some nice little houses over there in fucking the Middle East. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They build castles out there. Same way they built castles back in the day. It was all precasted. I just think we just don't know how they did the forms and stuff. I don't know why one archaeologist didn't come out and say, you know what? Let's check this theory out. Maybe they poured their own concrete. Maybe they made those blocks on their own. Because, Boris, they are fucking perfect, bro. I mean, talking about this is a couple thousand years later, with all the wind over there, it's still perfect, man. So, I mean, something's up with it, bro. I mean, I seen some, look at, where is it? Is it in Peru? Was it Peru or Costa Rica where they found those big blocks and they were like carved out perfectly, like all the angles and shit? That guy Eric Van Donken found them. They're like little H's. There's these huge blocks, like almost the size of your house again, and they're perfectly carved out. And he's like, it looks like they fit into place or something like that. They made hundreds of them and they abandoned them. And he said, "What are they for?"
Right.
And he was saying maybe spaceships or whatever, but no one knows what they were for. There's no
like stuff like that. I can always attest to like ancient worship temples. They could be those things could be a representation of something, representation of the gods. You know what I'm saying? But some of these construction methods, like we could talk about it for days and still not be anywhere near where we're supposed to be.
You know what's cool? Do you ever see the original the lunar module? It was shaped like a pyramid in a way, but it was rounded off. Yeah. So when it came in, the bottom of it was like a shield for the for the atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it burned up, they had a shield on it. The other top half was like this. Yeah. I guess aerodynamically, maybe it made more sense. I don't know the exact reason for it, but it kind of represents. It looks like a pyramid in a way. So let's just say if there is some kind of civilization that can go to planet to planet, they might build their ships like that. So when they go into a planet, they can withhold, the atmosphere, so the pressure and stuff.
So what you're saying is that
they were mimicking something.
It's possible that the Great Pyramids were monuments, but monuments to something like that, exactly. like a craft.
It's possible.
Yeah.
How about this? Nobody knows what's in the middle of the pyramids.
Yeah, we do.
No. They're thinking that they might have just inside.
There's chambers in there. We went in there.
I'm saying on the top. I'm saying not on the first floor. Above it, I'm saying they think they might have just threw like rubble in there and then built around it so they could save time because no one really knows for fact. I look into it. What's in the middle of the pyramids? So one guy thought they might have just put like rubble in there, make it easier, which I don't believe.
Let's see what we can find.
Because you can't just go to the second and third floor in there. It's just one. It's one floor, one chamber. I think on the bottom or something like that.
Hold on.
And nobody knows what's like in the middle. I don't think. But I think they know, but they don't. I don't know. Because they counted the blocks on the outside. That's a lot of blocks.
Well, all right. So they don't. They don't have like I'm looking at a thing of it.
There's no fact of what's in the middle. They have ideas.
No. It's pretty fucking factual. There's, I mean, unless you're claiming that the top of the pyramid has passageways yet to be discovered,
Possibly.
it goes from subterranean to about almost 3/4 of the way up with passages.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, here, take a look.
Well, maybe certain parts of the pyramid they could be rubble in it. They're not sure. I know there was some guy was talking about it. Or maybe there's 3 pyramids. Maybe different ones were built differently. I don't know.
Let me see.
But they were saying it's a possibility that they could have been rubble and they could have just built around it. Would be easier to put the blocks.
No. It was all.
I don't believe that theory though. I don't believe it anyway. I don't make any sense to me.
Well, hold on, because damn it, it won't let me pull it up.
I think it would be easier to make the first row precast blocks and then make the second row and the third and the fourth and just keep on going up. It'd be a lot easier. And don't forget, Boris, the reason why they killed all the workers, Boris, they say, the reason why they killed all the workers, you know why? Because they didn't want anybody to tell anybody how they did it. Because it was such a big deal. It was for, like, for the gods or whatever, or for their pharaoh or whatever. I don't know what the fuck it is. But they say they killed all the slaves who did it because they didn't want to take technology anywhere else, something like that. There's so many theories.
Well, here, let me pop it on screen real quick, just so we can have a slight idea. All right.
But yeah, and there's actually some pathways in the pyramids. They stuck little robots in, and there's dead ends.
Here,
It's weird.
Check this out real quick. Give it a sec.
Did you ever see that though? They put the robot inside, Boris, and it goes and it's like an end.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why did they build it like that for? It's just a little. It goes in 100 feet and it just ends.
Mm-hmm. See it?
All right, yeah, I'm saying
that's what they have so far.
Yeah, but there's so much more to the pyramid. You probably could put rubble in there and just put blocks on top. I don't believe it.
I don't think there's any rubble. I think it's built perfectly throughout. I think everything that they wanted built was built predetermined, premeditated.
Yeah. I personally think they precasted all the blocks in place. It's the easiest way to do it.
I mean, listen, you got the right to think that because we don't know what actually happened.
There's no records.
We're assuming the best way we can, based on human strength and this and this that and the third, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah,
and we can't claim to.
No.
We could only carbon date and assume and read the hieroglyphs and kind of go and then kind of try to use the technologies that would think that was available.
What if the ancient giant theory is true? They say these people are like 20 feet tall, 18 feet tall. Now, it can start to make a little sense that maybe 100,000 of these people might be able to pull one of these blocks. Or maybe they had a technology to actually move them or make them easier.
Yeah.
But the thing is how are they getting them out of the ground? That's my thing. How are you picking up a fucking 100-ton block that you just cut out?
I was trying to look for that earlier. Let me keep trying.
It just doesn't make any sense. They're trying to say ramps, but the thing is, if you built a ramp, it would be how much of a steep to get to the top. That thing is steep, bro. When you go to the top of the pyramids, man, if you fall off that fucking thing, you're going down, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you think. Like, people climb up there. You know how long to climb up there? You gotta be in some crazy shape to get up there. You know that?
Yeah.
That's fucking serious, man. But yeah, I think the pyramids were built precast. Not precast. I think they were cemented in from the beginning. They made block by block. That's it. And they had a certain method. That's the only way you can get a couple hundred of them done a day. Seriously. Yeah, that's all. You probably could do like, honestly, Boris, how many floors is it, Boris? How many rows?
Hold on.
It's definitely more than 20 stories high, right? Yeah.
Here, I got some. I got a potential way to do this. Watch. Ready? It's gonna come up now. I gotta do it quick so I don't.
Okay.
Look.
50 stories is the pyramids. Boris.
Ready? Keep looking.
Oh, that's the ramp thing? Yeah,
that stairs on each side, and they tied it off and moved it one by one by one.
Okay. Now that's, if the blocks are that big, now that is doable, right?
You understand what I'm saying?
But my question is, there's one problem. I've seen this before, and where they actually debunked the idea is, you see that little thing on the top with that ramp on top? How they debunked it, they said to get to the top, the ramp will be too steep, and the amount of weight will increase. You understand?
Unless you make the ramp gradual.
That's the problem, though. Is
you have to build the ramp up.
No, the thing
that
is,
much bigger.
They said when they start off with the ramp, they have to start off like, just say they're building the pyramid. This is the pyramid right here. They're starting the ramp off right here. Mm-hmm. They have to stay there. This is the starting point, so they can only go like this.
No. They'd build it back more.
I thought about that.
That's exactly what this is showing.
But what are they building the ramps with?
Sand.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Well, let me see.
Don't know.
Step by step, guys. The slope grew with the pyramid.
Now, when I hear scaffolding, right? Scaffolding reminds me of one thing: is when you start picking things up from floor to floor, materials. Scaffolding is mostly for materials. Back in the day, they used to use scaffolding to hoist up materials with people from floor to floor, buckets, whatever, ropes,
right.
pulley systems.
Right.
Scaffolding makes more sense. I just think it would make more sense to make the base of it, level it off, and then you precast the next fucking.
It would make sense now, but I don't think they had access to kind of even that kind of thinking or that kind of technology.
I don't think they had the smarts to build ramps like that. Those blocks were heavy.
I think they'd be able to build those blocks before they can precast, because if precasting existed back then, that would revolutionize a lot of stuff.
How about this? That's why I always go with the Nazca lines with this. Is the Nazca lines, they cut the top of the mountains off, and everybody said the mountains are cut off all the tops. It's just a straight road, and everyone said, where the fuck is the debris? There are pieces the size of buildings in Manhattan that are missing. Where the fuck are they? Not in the bottom of the mountain. Not in the side of the mountain. It's like they just cut the mountains. And
maybe they used it for something else.
Possibly. You know what I'm thinking they did with it? Very simple. When you break it off, they break it down to little pebbles. Mm-hmm. And then they use it for other things. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe fucking to build houses, build villages, other pyramids. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying with the Great Pyramids, we don't know. We have an idea where it came from, all these blocks, like you just said. But do we see, like, giant squares carved out of the ground?
No, we do not.
Exactly. Where did they come from?
Now, I believe that...
maybe erosion came in and boom, you know?
I believe that they were precast, but not on site. I believe they were precast at the quarry, cut to specifications, and then drug up these ramps.
Possibly, but how far was the car? How far was it?
I still can't find it.
I think it was a couple of miles away.
I still can't find it.
I'm being sad. I think it was right near the river. Was it the Nile River or something like that? Was right near it. Mm-hmm. The river's over there. But my thing is, where did they find these rocks, Boris? This is talking about 2 million blocks. How about this? Take the fucking pyramid, and just pull it out of the ground. You have a huge hole, right? You have a huge fucking hole, bro. I don't know where it is. You know? Mm-hmm. I mean, they can figure out. They know where the Mayans built theirs. They know how they built it. They know everything about it. They have the areas where they got the rocks from. They have the tools, the proof. We don't have it with the pyramids. All we have is stories. That's why I believe the reason why they didn't write down what they did, because it wasn't that hard. They just took dirt, sand. All they took was sand, water, limestone, and other materials up there, and they poured into a fucking goddamn square, a big square. That's it.
Get the fuck out of my face.
Tell me something I don't know, please, man. I'm interested. What?
Okay. Aswan, or pronounced Asan, lies 934 kilometers south of Giza, up the Nile River.
Okay.
About 700 kilometers airline distance.
They could have used boats.
The granite quarries lie south and southwest of the city of Aswan on the right side of the Nile and cover an area of about 20 kilometers. The granite for the pyramids probably came from the northern part.
They say probably.
Yeah, they're not sure.
Now, if now
700, 900 fucking kilometers.
that's half our country. Yeah, our country.
What an undertaking.
That's 30% of our.
What a
that's
fucking
like going,
undertaking.
That's like going from here to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's why I said it's possible it came from there.
Longer than that, more than that.
But how about this? Ready? They're probably longer.
More than that.
Well, United States is 2,700 miles, right?
Yeah.
So Chicago's probably what, 1,400 probably from the East Coast.
No.
1,200 maybe. 1,000 miles definitely.
Let's see.
Easily.
Let's see.
But forget that. Not a big deal about that. But it's a question though, Boris. Wouldn't it make more sense, Boris, to have 100,000 workers cut it, breaking? Listen, Boris, these guys can sit there and just break these rocks apart to dust, to powder, you know what I'm saying? And just put it into buckets or put it into whatever they put it into, you know what I'm saying? And then ship it up the river.
Not bad. You were close. 790 miles.
All right, so it's further than Chicago.
No, it was 900. 930 kilometers.
Okay, so it's about the same.
790 and 930.
All right.
More.
So what I'm saying is,
crazy.
Let's just say they were able to break up these rocks into small pieces, into like powder pretty much, and maybe they were able to melt it on site. You don't know what they're able to do. But I don't think they took those giant blocks and fucking went, no smart guys, you know what? Let's carry this 100-ton fucking block 700 miles. No.
It furthermore tells me that the materials had to be shipped to the site and then
made on the site.
Built on site, but I don't think it was made, like, cast onto it.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you're going to make it on the bottom, right, on the first floor, and then carry it up 15 floors, because now you're at the 15th story, it's too much work to build it. Oh, listen to me. I did this in construction.
I don't think they knew how to make precast that would hold up in place. That's why I think they used the sand to dig up the squares just exact and then pour the material in there, harden it, pull it, and drag it.
What you don't know is that if you set the first block, right? The first block is set, right? Now this is hardened up. When you're going to set the second block, which is probably the cell phone, right? This block is going to lay against the first one. So now you only have to form 1, 2, and 3, right? 3 walls. But as you get up higher, it's going to change. Because now you're going to get to points where it's not really that hard, because when you get up higher, you're starting from the middle. Now you put a block here, block here, block here, block here, and you keep on going outwards. And now when you're forming, you're only forming 3 walls. It's not that hard. It's not as much weight.
Well, from what it was said, the foundation was made first.
Of course, the foundation. Yes.
The entire structure was made first.
Yes, and how do you make one? Do you think they carried that foundation? No.
No, they built that into.
Yes.
Yeah, the foundation was built
Which I believe... If it listen, everything else they built in these places, like I'm just saying, like when they found cities and towns, they made all the stones out of like mud and shit, and they made it on. They made the wall right then and there. They didn't make the wall a mile away and carry it. They had a technology then to do that, but just did it on a bigger scale.
I don't think precasting was available.
Not precast like we have today, but a form of precasting.
Yes, I believe it was precast, but not on the actual pyramid.
Well, they had iron back then. They had wood. Copper, whatever, which copper can work too, if you make it thick enough. Remember, all you're holding is still a lot of weight, but all you're really holding is dirt, water, and granite. But once you pour that shit in, it starts to harden right away. So you really have to worry about it topping over or anything like that, So if you do it the right way, trust me, it can be. I've seen massive bars. I seen a fucking wall, 20 tons, be poured, and the next day, you know what I'm saying, done. You know what I'm saying, Boris? And you can start building on top of that thing. A couple days later, I've seen floors get poured. It's a lot more easier, a lot quicker. I really think, and the tools they had, they could square it off. Boris, these squares are too perfect, Boris. It's too perfect, man. You get the best person in the world, and it would take them years to use a tool to make that block perfectly square. I don't care if you had 20,000 workers on a block. It will take them a long time to do it. I think it'd be easier to use these slaves just to carry shit up and pour the shit, and that's it. Just buckets of stuff you're just pouring in there. Boris, you can make it, bro. Look at everything in the Middle East is built out of what, Boris? A type of mortar, you know what I'm saying, Boris? Like some kind of mud or limestone or granite. It's all made the same. Why were the pyramids made different? I mean, the technique. Why? Doesn't make any sense. You're just making it on a bigger scale. They have made big structures before in the Middle East.
Well, yo, you're going to be happy to see this.
What?
The answer has at least been found, and it totally contradicts the stone carving theories. The pyramids were cast in situ, stew. The limestone mud was carried up by bucketful.
Thank you.
And then poured, packed, or rammed into molds made of wood, stone, clay, or brick, placed on the pyramid sides.
Yes.
So,
I just think
I totally think it's possible.
Yeah,
I
just think me doing construction, all right, my whole life, and watch other people do it.
Right.
If somebody had to go 40 feet up with a giant, even like if you're building a chimney, you're not going to build a chimney on the floor and carry it up. You're going to build it brick by brick up there.
Yep.
It's a lot easier.
It makes sense.
So, I think the people were very smart back then. And I knew that in order for them to build something this big, some serious planning, serious mathematics, some serious people had to be involved. There's a lot of money, a lot of resources to get this thing done, and a lot of food to feed these people to do it. It wasn't a fucking small project.
Right.
Probably
20 years, bro. Think
exactly. And they probably thought it was going to take longer than that.
One thing.
I'm sure they thought it would take longer, but they probably found ways to speed things up. But the reason why I say this theory is the one reason why I say it is the credit card theory. When someone says they can't even get a credit card between both the blocks, that says one thing to me. A piece of sheet metal or copper. You have one block already done. You put the sheet metal in between, very thin slice, very thin sheet, maybe an 1/8 thin, which they had back then, copper. You put it in between. You put the wood form up, and you pour. And guess what? You just pull that copper thing out when it's almost dry. There's a certain time to pull it out where you don't fuck it up. Then the guys will come in after and do their little hand carving for the corners and shit, which is proven. They did do some carving. They did. How about this? How about when they wrote on those walls, when they wrote things down? I know. But you see how perfect they are?
Well, that's a different thing. You
know
have
what I'm saying,
that,
but
you know.
you could really, it's not a paintbrush.
No.
I mean, they have built. I mean, you saw
stonemasons or some shit.
Yo, you saw one guy on one picture, and the same exact guy on another. It's like exactly the same size. Everything's the same.
The masonry work I'll attribute directly to human hands.
Like Taj Mahal, India. Unfucking believable. Even the Colosseum with the with the sewer system underneath.
Shit, with the whole thing that they had underneath it to house the animals and.
Even the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
This thing is huge. People, you don't realize how big these things are. You go there and say, "Holy fuck!" You could drive you have a race car, 10 race cars in the wall. Fucking China, bro. Fucking drive.
And it'll go for a minute too.
I mean, it goes up and down and shit, but yeah.
Well, I mean, but you'll be driving for a while.
Yeah. So all these fucking, I like the fact you just read that now. I like the person who probably wrote that. I guarantee he has a construction background in him somewhat. And he probably just thought, sometimes you have to look at things with common sense, you know? You know, it's like a murder case. Sometimes you got to say, okay, who's the people that surrounded him in his life? Who's his family? Who's their boyfriends? Who's their friends? And you get the whole group there. And you look at one person and say, something's not right with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been fighting with that person a lot over this and that. You kind of go with common sense. You say, okay, I'm going to go that direction. I like the direction where these things were set in place, you know? And it makes a lot more sense because they were perfectly done. And I'm not taking away anything. I'm actually saying it's smarter than carrying these fucking things. But Boris, how are you going to carve these things out 900 miles away, right? And then hope they're going to fit? Come on, you know, Boris? And plus, Boris, these things are different sizes on different floors, right, Boris? Because you can't use the same size blocks for the whole thing, right, Boris? Because
that I'm not.
No. I know why you can't. You know why? Because every floor is getting smaller, right, Boris?
The Great Wall of China. How long do you think it is?
How long?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like 2,000 miles, something like that. Is it?
Sure.
Or 1,500? It's. Wait, does it go around the whole country? No, it goes around up the mountains and shit.
What's your best estimate on how long it is?
I'm gonna think. I think it's like. I really think it's a couple. Was it 2,000 miles, right?
That's your final answer?
I mean, I'm just making a guess, educated guess. How far?
You're about 11,171 miles off.
2011.
13,171 miles.
Oh, so I'm way off. I was saying 2,000 miles.
As I said, you're about 11,170
No,
miles.
I'm 111,000, 100 and something thousand miles off.
11,000. You said 2,000. It's 13,000.
Oh, wait, so okay. I knew it was big though.
It's crazy.
But
I never knew how long the Great Wall of China is till right now.
Now, Boris, if you put the pyramids had to be like this, right? So if this is the base, right, and you put the blocks around, and you leave, with a couple of feet of room on each around it, right, and you go back to the middle. Now the blocks got to be a different size because now they got to fit into a small place. You can't have the same size blocks, and if you do, how many are you gonna have? So mathematically, they had to figure all this out. So there's no way there was no way they would be able to actually carve them out 900 miles away and hope they were gonna fit in place right.
That's a good question.
These things are fucking, yeah. Some of these blocks are bigger than others as they go. I think as they went higher, the blocks might have gotten a little bit smaller. I think, Boris, because I just think that's common sense. It's like a steel building. The beams get lighter as they go higher. Because of the wind and shit. You don't want to topple over. But the pyramids would never topple over because of the way they were built. All the weight's forcing down, and it's going right in the middle.
Nah, it doesn't tell you.
No, it doesn't
exactly.
say.
It doesn't tell you.
Because they don't know that because they can only measure the outside blocks, not the inside ones. That's the problem. They can't. If they could pull one of those blocks out and just dismantle them and blow it up, the shit they would see inside would be amazing. Probably, probably preserved. You know what I'm saying, Boris? Be fucking phenomenal to get in there. And like I said, Boris, there's no way they carried that last block up. That had to be made on top. And know what's funny too, Boris? Guess what's made up there, Boris? You know the top was made out of gold at one point. It was looted, right? Not gold. It was
limestone.
Limestone.
Smooth.
It was smoothed. What is that saying to you?
And it had a golden top.
But hold on, what is that saying to you? That it was all limestone smoothed. That they basically it's like a stucco job in a way. Right? What does that say to you? They were able to turn the limestone into a mortar and spread it on.
Yes.
What's to say they couldn't just dump it with buckets and make?
I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you at all.
So yeah, I think there's a lot we can learn. I just think we should just I think we should blow the fucking pyramids up. That's it. Blow them up. Just blow out the top brick. The top one. See what's in the middle and see how they did it. Gotta answer all the questions. Get to the middle of it.
Think.
Yeah.
But it's like disassembling something made to withstand the test of time.
Well, then stop arguing about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Everyone should stop arguing about it. If you're not going to blow the top half off and just check out the inside, boom. I don't care about them, to be honest. They blew them up tomorrow, I can live. You know what I'm saying? But I think they should definitely...
You don't think it'd be a great loss for humanity if somebody went and blew that up?
I mean, I don't think it'd be a great loss. You know why? We don't know how to even build them.
But doesn't that make it the loss itself because of the wonders of how it was actually built?
I mean, I don't really think so. I think it would be of great loss to certain people, but I think 50 years people would move on. They should take off one of those blocks, though. They should. Just one. Just to really study inside there. They should find a way to They should find a way to get a couple of blocks in to see how they built there, because that would probably answer their questions. Because they might find a tool, they might find something in there. But I like that theory the guy said with the mud, the mortar.
That is a possibility. Really and truly.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, kiddies, on that note, we are 3 hours and 10 minutes in, and my ass has to be up at an essential working hour. So, Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for Mr. SL and Mr. Bobby for being here. You
You're
know what I'm
welcome.
saying? And we'll do this again.